Welcome, Magnus here, and today we're going to talk about the 5 best cameras for 5 different YouTube recording scenarios coming up in today's video. Hey, welcome, and today's video we're going to talk about the 5 best cameras under $2,000 for 5 different scenarios of YouTube creation. If you're new to my channel, definitely consider subscribing if you want to get more on camera news, tech, and basically tips and tricks that you can do with cameras. Now today we're going to talk about 5 different YouTube scenarios and the best camera that you could possibly use under each scenario that's within $2,000. Now the first scenario I want to talk about is definitely the basic and often referred to as the YouTube vlogger. Basically what that means to me is the YouTube creator that just wants to take a camera and record their day-to-day lives, probably make it interesting, and they want to get the best look for what they can possibly do with that YouTube type of video and type of creation, and they make it interesting and fun, and they want to have something that basically resembles like a cinematic experience. And for that I would recommend above all else is the Canon EOS R. Now the R5 is one that I would recommend probably later, but that's a little bit more expensive and it's going to be a little bit more pricey, or at least it's rumored to be. And the R6 might be a little bit more reasonable, but might still be over $2,000. And since we're sticking with a budget that's within $2,000, I'd recommend the EOS R. And I'm recommending that basically because it's the type that you're a little bit more serious. You're not going to hold the camera constantly all day following you around, because that's not what you're after. You're just after quick setups, grabbing a nice camera that'll get the best shot for you. And I would think that for that you want a full frame camera with a flip screen. You want the ability to have great autofocus and basically have a good look so that when you're editing, you can take the footage right out of your camera and edit as quick as possible, especially if you want to continue recording these vlogs in a quick format. And Canon's color science and Canon's full frame sensor does the trick. Sure, 4K crops in a little bit, but you have the ability to use 4K. And the amount of lenses that Canon offers in their RF line might be a little pricey, but with adapter, you can use the EF line of glass and have a ton of lenses at your disposal. So I would definitely recommend the Canon EOS R. And if you want to go a bit cheaper, you can do the RP, which I've seen retail for $1,000. However, you got to keep in mind that the battery life on the RP is not as good as the EOS R. So if you're considering vlogging with the RP, then use that money that you're saving to get yourself some extra batteries. The next type of creator that I've got in mind is the travel vlogger. Now this type of YouTuber is definitely the type that wants to take their camera on the go, take it wherever they travel to and vlog with it. And travel vlogging is incredible, but you also have to keep in mind that when you're traveling a lot, make sure that you're bringing little to no weight when you're traveling, because you don't want to carry around a big heavy camera. And for that, I would definitely recommend the Canon M50. The Canon M50 is very tiny. It's an APS-C, so it's slightly smaller sensor, but you get, again, great color science, great autofocus, great 1080p. The 4K crops in just like the Canon EOS R, and the autofocus is not great when you're using 4K, but you don't need to. You're traveling light, you want to take some great pictures, you want to take some great video and just run and gun and go everywhere. You've got the flip screen that makes it convenient. You've got headphone jack that you can stick a little microphone on it, and you're good to go. So I would definitely recommend the Canon M50, and it's definitely, when it comes to that, a great camera to pick up, and it's priced pretty well. So it's all in all a big win. Now next up is the YouTuber that's kind of like either makeup YouTuber or a YouTuber that pretty much stays still in a chair and just it's between you and the YouTuber. They don't move around much. For this, I would recommend a camera that is good when it comes to showing off either your different items that you want to show off. Maybe like if you're a product reviewer and you're just right in front of your camera, I would definitely recommend the Sony ZV-1. Yes, I'm moving away from Canon in this recommendation, going to the Sony ZV-1 because that camera's got a couple of interesting features. Now, it's a smaller sensor, but that camera still lets in a lot of light, which is great. You're not moving around much, so you don't have to carry around the camera to different places. And this camera is not heavy by any means. It's definitely light, but it gives you the opportunity to not have to, since you're not going to switch out your lenses much, you don't have to worry about that because this has a built-in lens system. This lens also gives you the ability to have some interesting bokeh should you need it. The camera comes with a focusing feature that lets it auto detect the fact that you're showing products and actually pay attention to that without only focusing on your face, which is really handy when it comes to showing different products or showing different items while you're sitting down and not moving much. Now, the reason why I would recommend this camera as opposed to like the M50 again is because of that autofocus feature, and also because it has no recording limit as well. So you can sit down, and when you're sitting down you tend to speak for a lot longer, so this camera does not have a recording limit, and it becomes very handy when it comes to that. So I definitely recommend the Sony ZV-1, which is competitively priced as well for this type of YouTube creation. Now, there are some creators that don't care about talking to you or showing you things. They just want to create short films and actually show you the short films on YouTube, and that's great. I actually think that's an excellent idea. It's a way to reach different people and actually get exposed, and a camera that I would recommend, especially for short films if you're going to release on YouTube regularly, it would be the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Now, this camera packs a punch. This camera does 60 frames per second at 4K RAW. It does 120 frames per second in 1080p, though it crops in a bit. And you have a wide range of features that this camera has, and it's very easy to use. Now, this camera is definitely not towards your traditional YouTuber, which is why I'm specifically mentioning for your short film creator, because this camera has some quirks that you don't have on the other cameras. Like, it doesn't really have reliable autofocus. It's just basically one-touch autofocus and that's it. It doesn't have continuous autofocus. This also does not have image stabilization. It's just your basic no frills camera and is kind of oddly shaped, but the image quality that you get from this camera is undeniably next level. In fact, I will say that the image that you get off of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K far surpasses cameras that are twice the money. And I would recommend the 6K as well, but the 6K is a bit over $2,000. So if you're going to stick within $2,000, definitely consider picking up the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and shooting your films with this camera. And finally, for your streamer, now this is the YouTuber that wants to do live streams constantly and talk to the camera. I think that the best camera to get for a streamer, or one of the best, is the GH5. The GH5 has no recording limit, so that you can not only record your stream, but also back up your stream to recording if you feel you want to do so. The GH5 also has a flip screen so you can see yourself, and it's pretty much a reliable camera when it comes to just anything that you want to film. But you also have the ability to have a larger sensor than the ZV-1, because the ZV-1 doesn't have a recording limit either, but the GH5 is a larger sensor, so you can get kind of a background blur going if you mount the right lens to it. And you also have the ability to connect regular size HDMI from the camera to a capture card to the computer to make it easier for streaming, which is a plus when it comes to that type of recording. That's why I recommend the GH5. So those are the 5 cameras that I recommend for 5 different types of YouTubers. Let me know if you have a camera that you would recommend. Now, those are my recommendations. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing that works for those different scenarios. It's just when I look at cameras and I look at what to get for different scenarios, that's what I would apply. So let me know what you guys think, what you would apply, or what cameras might be better, because they might be better to you for $2,000, but that would be interesting. But to all those that don't know, the 5 recommendations that I gave you can't fail with, and they'll definitely be reliable. So as always, leave a like if you like this video and you want this channel to continue to grow. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys next time.